What's good, superstars? Back with another video. Today, as promised, going to be going through another one of my portfolios. One of my more recent portfolios. Got a lot of inspiration from a bunch of other YouTube channels, as well as some things I was already doing. So figured out might as well put it all together and come up with like a concoction of all of the learning that I've done over the last 20 years of investing, and share with you guys, and maybe we'll go through the process of how this does, how it performs, and we'll see if we're on to something here. But again, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. It's never financial advice. I'm just a guy on YouTube sitting in his car right now to record this. So if you want to trust a guy who records videos for YouTube from his car, that is all on you. Do not hold me accountable for anything, because I don't know what I'm talking about. But regardless, this is the Living Out of My Brokerage series. I am not yet living out of my brokerage, but I do have a plan to get to that point, and I want to explain exactly how that is. First, though, we got to backpedal. Why would anybody want to live out of their brokerage? And it's going with the wealth loop, as you can see here, the Burr method. They all follow the same thing. If you've ever read Rich Dad Poor Dad, it's about buying assets, holding the assets, levering against the assets, and then repeating the process in hopes of appreciation of value, and then you can take out more, and so on and so forth, and eventually it pays itself off. It's a whole machine. You're gonna get into the nitty-gritty with me in a future episode, but today just wanted to go over like the nuts and bolts and how the whole process works. This is gonna be an ongoing series. I hope you guys enjoy it. But Living Out of My Brokerage, part 1. So basically, the Burr method. I mentioned this a little bit earlier. This is the real estate version of basically what I'm doing here. But in real estate, you buy a property, you rehab the property sometimes you don't even do that. You rent it, you refinance it. If it goes up in value, you take on more money, you buy another property, you keep going. You're snowballing properties. For me, not really for me, only because a lot of the time this requires, it's harder to have liquidity with that type of an investment. It is bigger dollar investments. There's a lot of legalities and all these things that go to it. Obviously, real estate's had a great increase in value over the last 30 plus years that I've been around here. But the last couple of years maybe not so good. But again, getting in and out of real estate, especially now, it's hard to sell a property where I'm up at in Canada. It's just something that I don't want to have to deal with. I also don't want to deal with the tenants. I'd rather just have easier ways to move around within my finances. And I feel like the Burr method, though it follows the same principles of what I'm going to be showing you guys here, not really for me. The wealth loop, much more generic. Buy an asset, borrow against the asset, repeat, reinvest, buy in another asset. Basically, you're hoping that the value goes up. You can take on more money, use that money to buy another asset that's going to increase in value or provide you value. That's basically the premise. So Living Out of My Brokerage, I did this for the other series. If you haven't seen the other series, that's my daily snowball, much smaller amounts of dollars that I'm dealing with in that portfolio, but I'm trying to prove a concept over there with some high yield funds that pay daily, and I roll the distributions into the next paying fund. It's a lot of fun just to track that one. It's only $1,000, but definitely go check out that playlist if you want. But that one was in my RRSP exclusively. This one here, we're going to be using Wealthsimple again, which is the brokerage of choice here in Canada. No fees on commissions, and they've expanded what you can do on the platform, which has really been impressive. But it's also we're doing all these different strategies. We never know if we're gonna stick with them all the time, or if we're gonna change it up. And when we do change it up, we don't want to be charged with all these fees for buying, selling, and all that stuff. So Wealthsimple is the brokerage of choice right now. That's pretty much best option for me at the moment. But I'm going to be using the margin and the TFSA account. We mentioned borrowing. We mentioned having borrowing, so you need to have a margin account for that. Again, this is very risky stuff. This is probably my riskiest strategy out of all my strategies, but I think I have a plan here, so we're going to see how it goes. So here are my rules. Okay, this is the video laying out the rules. Future video, I don't know how much I'm going to share in terms of actual costs. I'll probably share some percentages for sure. I'll share holdings, all that stuff. We'll see how comfortable I get with you guys on this, because this is a large amount of my net worth, so I don't really want to have that all over the internet. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. So the first step, deposit funds or your paycheck into the brokerage and the margin and TFSA accounts, amount to be determined. Now, a lot of people doing this on YouTube, they're showing you guys how they live out their brokerage. But I think it's got to be clear. These people had money in these accounts ahead of time. So if you're looking to do this and start off from scratch and follow some of these principles that people are doing out there, it's something you have to understand, that you can't necessarily just jump in, throw your paycheck in, and then invest it and then take out all your expenses, especially if you're living paycheck to paycheck. It will not work. You do need to have cash flow. For me, I'm not quite there yet. I don't have the nest. I do have a little bit of a nest egg in my accounts, which I can go over at some point, but it's not enough yet where I can put my entire paycheck in and then take it out basically to pay my expenses. I need my account to grow a little bit, or my margin to grow, my margin room to grow a little bit, because then whatever I'm putting in, I'm able to take out against the margin because I have the space and the equity, which I don't have yet. But I do have a plan for it, which is something that you should have with any investment journey. You should have a plan. So the Burr method, I should get that out of the way now because we're going down. But anyway, number 2, invest funds, paycheck into stocks and ETFs. So first I put the money into the brokerage, then I invest it into the stocks or ETFs per my plan. So again, very important, have a plan. Number 3, use the distributions or dividends to pay down the margin. So for example, I'm going to buy an asset, that will be my stock or ETF. Those stocks or ETFs, a good portion of them will pay distributions or dividends. That distribution and dividend will knock down the margin, which will kind of supplement the income, right? So if I'm putting in $1,000, I get $200 in dividends. Really, it's going to look at as if I do take the entire 1,000 back out, I'm really only going to be taking 800 out, because the distributions will have offset, and then you kind of start to get more and more distributions in the snowball, and that kind of increases the amount that comes down off the margin until that number is 0, and then you start paying down the margin once you get below that number. You're going to see it once I go through the spreadsheets in the future video. But withdraw money as needed to pay expenses using the margin. So this is again where it becomes important that you have a cash flow positive situation. If you are living out of your brokerage, you need to have pretty much more money staying in the brokerage than it's coming out. If you're taking out the same amount as you're putting in, with margin requirements and minimum margin or margin maintenance, whatever you want to call it, whatever you put in invested, you're not going to be able to take out a dollar to dollar. And if you are, your margin rate is going to go up at the same rate, which is something that is not sustainable if you don't have a good nest egg to keep your margin buffer in place. So something that you learn maybe through trial and error, something that I learned as I was starting to do the process, and understood that where I was, I cannot necessarily do 100% of my paycheck into the portfolio just yet, but I do have a plan to get there, and that's something that I'm excited to show you guys. Then we repeat. So deposit the funds into the brokerage, use that to buy stocks, to pay dividends, use the distributions paid on the margin. Keep doing it, snowballing the distributions until the distributions cover basically our expenses, and then that will be financial independence. So over time, snowballing distributions, dividends surpasses expenses, financial independence. Oh, and part 6, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I mean, that is a necessity for anyone, even following along. If you don't do this, I don't know what is the negative of it, but I think it's something that just because it can't be bad, right? So just subscribe to the channel. Okay, so that is that. Now we go down, and I have a little chart here breaking out my plan for investment. Now this is going to show you my breakdown in terms of percentages. It's going to show you how much I'm putting into each type of stock, ETF, that type of thing, but not necessarily the exact holdings. I want to do this video as a very, very high level. I want to gauge the interest and see what you guys think, and if any of you guys are doing it, how your splits are. So here is my portfolio breakdown. Okay, we're gonna go this way now. Look at this. This is just beautiful. So portfolio breakdown, I'm splitting into 2. So a lot of other YouTubers do this. I mean, shout out to Fully Invested Fi. Love his videos. He's doing a great job living out of his brokerage. You got Paycheck to Portfolio, another one, doing a similar type of split. And then you got Todd, who's doing a great job talking about all of this stuff here. So lots of inspirational people out there. Also on Blossom. If you're not on Blossom, you can go follow me there on Blossom. I have my profile in the description below. Also Snowball Analytics, I have a profile. You can follow me. That's also in the description. You can use the promo if you've never used it. It's a great tool for tracking your portfolio. Seeing the dividend calendar is one of my favorite things. It tells you when when things are coming up. So very fun application, and I love to do that. I also paid for that, and very worth it. Anyway, here's my split. I'm going to have a growth portion. I'm going to have a high yield portion. High yield, we're talking about anything that pays over 10% distributions. There are some riskier ones that pay very, very high distributions, but probably will have their capital erode due to that. But that's why we have the growth section of the portfolio, hoping to make up for that disparity, and hopefully we either end up even or higher when it comes to capital on this thing, and we're at the same time increasing our distributions. That is the goal. So we're going to have to track that and see how that goes. Each one of these has subdivisions. So my growth side and my high yield side both broke it into the same three categories: single stocks, indexes, and gold, materials, commodities, crypto. I should just write commodities there probably, but anyway, those are the three subdivisions of each section, and then I have percentages for those as well. So I'm at growth, I'm 37.5 is my target. Growth index 50%, and that's like your S&Ps, your QQQs, your NASDAQ, like that type of thing. And then my commodities 12.5. That's when it comes to growth. And when it comes to the yield, single stocks, basically ETFs that cover single stocks that pay higher yields, 33%. The ones that cover indexes, 50%, and the ones that cover the commodities, 16.66%. Now, all of these percentages may change depending on where I am in the strategy. If I'm noticing that my growth portfolio is taking over, going crazy, I might raise my high yield percentage. I might do it just because the growth is growing, it's doing what it's got to do. If it's not doing it, and maybe we need a little bit of help, we might go the other way. We might go back to 50-50 and try and get the growth up there a little bit, because we want to make sure the portfolio stays on top. And that's what I love about managing my own money. I can change just on the fly. It's liquid. I can move it. I can do what I need to do. So that's the same. And then here is the percentages of the portfolio. So overall of the 100%. So if these are each the 100% for each one, right? That's the 100% for growth. This is the 100% for high yield. Now, when you take it as a sum of the whole portfolio, these are the percentages. So growth single stocks, 15%, growth indexes, 20%, growth commodities, 5%, and then high yield single, 20%. So combined, I'm doing 35% into single stocks. High yield index, so combined I'm doing 50% into indexes, which is what I wanted. And then when it comes to commodities, we're looking at 15%. That could change. Single stocks and commodities might take it, but I think I like my breakdown right now, and I can't wait to show you guys the actual stocks that I'm invested in, ETFs I'm invested in, how it's working out. It's already started. I've started this in, I think, September when I first started it, so I can give you guys a little bit of a breakdown, but I need to figure out what I'm going to share, and that will be the next video. So guys, are you doing something similar? Are you living out of your brokerage yet? Are you depositing your entire paycheck, pulling from the margin? Did you have a nest egg ahead of time that you were able to pull from to keep your margin buffer nice? Did you have investments earlier that you're using for the same strategy that are up? That's another thing. Are you Canadian? Are you American? Are you using TFSAs like I am? So the TFSA, basically I should go back to this. The high yields are all in my TFSA. The growths are in my margin. Makes sense to me. You grow the account, open up more margin. Simple, luckily you can link your TFSA and your margin, so it doesn't really matter where I put that, but I want the TFSA to have the high yields, because if I am going to take any money out to spend on things down the line where I'm not contributing anymore, having it tax-free is a nice benefit. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, I mean, this is it. This is the strategy. We explained the whole process about buying, basically borrowing against the asset, and then hoping it grows, or reinvesting to make it grow, snowball effect. And now next video, I'll show you guys the entire process. Maybe I'll do like a flow chart, and I'll go through some of the holdings that I have, and then we'll see what you guys think. I am a sicko though. I will buy a ton of holdings because I'm very active and very on top of my portfolio. I learn about all of the things that I'm in. And that could happen. Things could slip away from you. Something could happen on one of the stocks that you're holding when you have so many of them, and you might not know about it, and you might lose that position. That's why, though, in my opinion, I'm very diversified. The holdings are never a large part of my entire portfolio. This way, if something does happen and I wasn't able to catch it, it's not really ever a massive blow. So we'll go through that. We'll get to it. We'll talk about rebalancing. We'll talk about all these things down the line, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys enjoy the series, because it's going to be a lot of fun to make it. Guys, we'll see you in the next one. I love you. Bye.